I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review the styles of movies that I love, the alternative, B-rated, cult-style flicks. And this one has definitely gained a cult following, even though when it first came out, everybody hated it. This movie was released in 1997, and it was directed by Mark A.Z. DePay, and written by Alan B. McElroy, of course based on the Spawn comics by Todd McFarlane, and produced by Clint Goldman, made by DePay Goldman Williams, and distributed by New Line Cinema and Todd McFarlane Entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, Spawn. The movie opens with the voice of Nicol Williamson, who plays Cagliostro, telling us all about the war between heaven and hell, and how the devil, Malbolgia, has built an army of souls.
All the Dark Lord needs now is a great soldier.
And all this movie needs is a great script and a good director. It didn't get either. Then we go to Hong Kong. They killed his teacher! Why?
We don't care if you get it.
The assassin is Al Simmons. No relation to Ron. He's at the airport to assassinate a terrorist. Now to cover his tracks. Al likes explosions as much as I do. Then we go to Al's boss, Jason Wynn. Jason Wynn is played by Martin Sheen, and he is talking to Clown, who is played by John Leguizamo. They are discussing this ultimate weapon that Wynn has been commissioned to make for Clown and, well, hell. Clown also wants Wynn's help recruiting a soldier. The soldier, of course, the assassin we just saw, Al Simmons. Wynn wants to know why him.
Why ask why? When how is so much more fun.
I will say this, despite all the problems with this movie, Clown was perfectly casted. Then Al's best friend Terry picks him up and takes him to work.
I'm gonna keep my eye on Wynn.
While you're at it, keep an eye on his son!
Emilio!
Not that one. That one's fine. Keep an eye on the one that needs anger management. When Al meets up with Wynn, he's upset at him, because the area that he hit was supposed to be cleared of innocent civilians.
If you can't handle it, I will.
Jessica Priest is played by Melinda Clarke. And before my brother gets to it, he's gonna go, and he's gonna mention that she was in Xena and Return of the Living Dead 3, and maybe some other stuff that nobody gives a crap about. The character of Jessica Priest was created for this movie as a way to replace Chapel from the comic books. A lot of fans were angry about that, but what they didn't understand was that the movie makers could not get the rights to Chapel because that character was owned by Rob Liefeld, who did not want them using him in this movie. However, because of this movie, the character Jessica Priest was later written into the Spawn comics. Al is there to resign. He wants out of this business. He doesn't want to be an assassin anymore. And Wynn says he'll let him out, but first he's got to do one last job. You should know that's a setup.
Let's get it over with.
I imagine that's what the scriptwriter said right before he started writing this. Once Al gets to North Korea, Wynn is there. And he's there to release a biochemical weapon on a town of 8,000 people in North Korea as an experiment.
I'm not gonna let you do this.
So I guess we learned how he's gonna recruit him.
See you in hell, Al.
To do this sequence for a moment, Michael J. White was actually on fire. It's a good thing they put him out though. He's Black Dynamite! Wanda! Of course, Al Simmons dies. But then he wakes up in an alley.
Oh, look what was left in the oven too long.
Al now has something in common with the way I order chicken. He's extra crispy. Al meets a kid named Zach.
Hey, mister, you don't look so good.
Zach knows that boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. Al also meets Cagliostro, who informs him that he's been gone for a long time. He also tells him that currently he's in a little homeless village.
You're welcome to join us.
But Al still thinks he has a home and would rather go there. But when he gets home, he sees that 5 years have passed and that his wife Wanda has married and had a child with his best friend Terry. Their daughter Cyan is having her 4th birthday party, which says that Wanda didn't wait all that long. I mean, Cyan being 4 now, plus having to carry her for 9 months, that means at the very max she mourned him for 3 months before moving on. A little messed up.
Alright, kids, I got more tricks than your local hooker. Here you go.
Hey, she even got a clown for the party. Al is discovered at the party.
Come on, my barbecued friend.
I get hiring a clown for a party, but why would you hire that one? Like, if that clown auditioned for me, I'd be like, no, Gacy. Once they're alone, Clown jumpstarts Al's memory after when he went to hell and made a deal with Malbolgia.
If you lead my army, you can see Wanda again.
Malbolgia's mouth not moving while he spoke was actually intentional. It wasn't that they didn't have the money to do the effects. The movie makers wanted to give off the impression that the voices were just coming from hell itself. Of course, Al agreed to lead his army if he got to see Wanda. You should have negotiated a little bit better.
Kill Jason win.
And then swing by Popeyes. I'm sorry, but the makeup effects they did on this doesn't make me look at him and go like, oh, a burnt victim. It makes me look at him and think, man, I could really go for some chicken. Clown tells him that his mission is to kill Win and start the war.
And in return for your services, we'll get Wanda back for you.
Before doing this, you should clarify that when you get Wanda back, she's not burnt. Al, though, is not convinced. He still thinks that this is some game being played on him by Win. So Clown takes Al to his grave. And once he sees his body, the necroplasm in him finally binds with his body.
I dubbed thee Spawn!
Spawn! As in Hell Spawn. Which makes more sense, because the first time I heard his name, I thought it had something to do with fish. When Spawn gets back to the alley, he meets the other assassin.
Only I killed for the kingdom of Saxony 500 years ago.
You look good for your age. But Spawn isn't interested in anything Cagliostro has to say. He's on a mission, which means Cagliostro is going to have to watch him. The ultimate weapon Win has been developing for 5 years, the one he tested on the North Korean town, is finally ready.
Heat 16. Makes the Ebola virus look like a skin rash.
Hopefully the fact that it has 16 in the title doesn't mean that 15 other times you tested it and it wasn't quite right. But Win has somebody else in his sights.
Time to get reacquainted, Jason.
Terry works for Quinn and he is tired of covering up the things that Win is doing.
How are Cyan and Wanda?
Well, they're both spooked by this really crazy looking clown I hired. At the time I was like, okay, he can do balloon animals, I'll hire him, and now I'm thinking he might have people buried under his crawl space. They head to a party, and Spawn decides to crash. And Spawn has something to say to Win.
You sent me to hell, Jason. I'm here to return the favor.
He's also not happy with Terry.
How could you marry Wanda? How could you?
Because, dude, bros before hoes is a myth. But he lets Terry go to go focus on Win. But Priest has something to say about that. Priest got him a few times, but the necroplasm is making it to where Spawn heals instantly. Nowadays, effects like that are pretty standard, but in '97, those effects were revolutionary. He catches up with Priest. Shoot. More soldiers show up, preventing him from being able to get to Win and kill him like he really wants to do. But now he has to get out of there. He is not interested in killing a bunch of innocents. So he needs to disappear. Yeah, this is '97. In 2023, this is still kind of cool. Win, of course, is very angry that Clown did not warn him about Spawn. But Clown tells him, hey, don't worry. To protect yourself, have a device implanted into your heart that will set off Heat 16 if your heart stops.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Totally, what could go wrong there? So, taking Clown's advice, Win quickly goes into action into having that device implanted into his heart. Meanwhile, Spawn is in the homeless alley talking to Zach.
Is this hell?
I think this is hell. You know nothing about hell. You know nothing of the horror that can inflict you. When being surrounded by a bunch of children and their parents, looking at you and your best friend and your idiotic brother in a movie theater, watching a movie that was clearly just for all of them, when you're like 16, 17 years old, and your brother's just staring at the Spice World screen like... Spawn tells Zach to leave because he has some words for Clown. Spawn figured out that Clown had Win kill him. He also figured out that Clown has been manipulating everything.
You can take this army of yours and shove it.
But now, Clown is pissed.
I'm not the Vindicator, or the Victimizer, or the Vaporizer.
Vindicator and Vaporizer are actually two of the names of Clown's brothers in the comic books. The other two are Vandalizer and Vacillator. As far as Clown's real name... And he's not so funny looking. In this movie, Violator never talks. In the comic books and in the animated miniseries they did on HBO, Violator could talk just fine. But in this, all he does is roar and stuff. Spawn fights him off as best he can. But it's not a lot.
You've been violated, girly man.
I know how you feel, Spawn. I felt the same way. Violated. But there are support groups for people who had to sit through the movie Alexander. After Clown leaves, Cagliostro gets Spawn down.
You're Spawn now. But that doesn't mean you have to be what they want.
He's still fighting to sway Spawn. Cagliostro shows Spawn how to use his powers. And Spawn picks it up very quickly. A little too quickly, in my opinion. So quickly that it really does feel like it was really just thrown in at the last minute. No montage or nothing. Back at Wanda and Terry's, Terry is downloading and emailing all the information he has on Heat 16 to the press. Until he gets a visit.
What are you doing here?
He's here to have Coco with you. What do you think, jackass? He has a gun. This is government conspiracy stuff. Why would you do it from your computer at home? But as this is going on, there's a ring at the door.
Peekaboo.
Should've just hired the people from the petting zoo. Clown lets Wynn know that Spawn is on his way. When Spawn gets there...
Wanda!
But before he can save her...
Either you join Hell's army or she dies.
Spawn needs a minute to think.
Too late.
No! So now Spawn is ready to kill Wynn!
Kill me! You kill her!
Yeah, I know that that's not your kid, but still don't. Instead, what he does is somehow uses his power to take the device out of Wynn's heart. A little convenient that he could do that. But despite the fact that now there's no risk in killing Wynn, he still doesn't kill Wynn.
You worthless bag.
I think everybody saw that coming. What am I talking about? I was watching this in a movie theater. Everybody saw that coming.
You set me up.
Duh.
You kinda deserved it. Not just for being evil, but come on. At no point did you realize this was a setup? Clown now sets his sights on the real Wanda.
Cagliostro!
Could have shown up a little bit sooner, but okay. At this point, he helps Spawn heal, and the two of them go after Clown in hell. But now these two are facing the Violator. But now it's Spawn's turn. Well, that was easy. But Malbolgia is also there.
Bring me Spawn's head.
You know, you're pretty big. A lot more powerful. You could just kill him yourself. Again, that's a little convenient. So he takes Cagliostro and leaves.
You will never escape me.
Oh yes, he will. At least until the reboot finally comes out. Once they're back, some more convenience.
Spaz! Hey!
But it's not over. But Spawn knows how to use his powers.
Like this!
And now the head. And now it's over.
You're gonna pay for this.
They had to leave it open for a sequel. Although, that would never happen. Of course, Wynn is arrested, and Spawn has defeated Malbolgia.
For now.
Forever with this, Spawn. So there you have it, that's Spawn. A movie that came from a very popular comic book at the time, that got everybody all hyped up and excited to see, and kind of let everybody down. This movie was a financial success as it had a $40 million budget and did $87.9 million in the box office. However, critically, it was very, very bashed, and for once I kind of have to agree with the critics. Most of the critics who saw this did not like it. In fact, even the people in it, like John Leguizamo and Michael J. White, did not like this movie once it was finished. A lot of people nowadays have praised the director's cut, which, by the way, was what I reviewed, and most of you probably didn't notice. Which is why I don't get why people praise the director's cut. It's 2 minutes longer. Yet somehow that 2 minutes was the difference between a PG-13 rating and an R rating. It makes no sense, and ultimately the director's cut is not different enough to really care. I mean, like I said, it was really well casted. I mean, Michael J. White was perfect to play Spawn at the time, and John Leguizamo was great as Clown, despite the fact that he really suffered as Clown. Clown is very short, so if you notice in the entire movie, he's hunched over the entire time, which was agony on his back and knees. Not to mention that suit was so hard to get in and out of that at one point John Leguizamo had to go to the bathroom while having that suit on and couldn't make it. He ended up peeing himself in the suit. It took hours to get it on and off. Same with Michael J. White. Whether it was the Spawn suit or just the burnt body makeup, took hours every day. As much as Michael J. White didn't like this movie, though, I think it was a good choice because he was actually offered the part of Jax in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, but turned it down to play Spawn. Neither of those movies were great, but this one better. But Michael J. White has gone on record many times to say he did not like Spawn at all. As great as the casting was of Michael J. White, John Leguizamo, Martin Sheen, who was only in this because he really badly wanted to be in a comic book movie, and Nicol Williamson, who this was his final film acting role, there were a lot of other people up to play these parts. For example, Spawn, they also approached Wesley Snipes, who turned this down and later was in Blade, Cuba Gooding Jr., Snoop Dogg. I don't know why they would want him to play Spawn, of all people. Tony Todd, which might have been awesome. Alan Payne, Denzel Washington. They even approached Samuel L. Jackson. I don't know if he would have worked for Spawn, but I would have watched the crap out of that. Ving Rhames, LL Cool J, Tupac, Will Smith. All these people were considered to play Spawn. Will Smith turned it down to go be in Men in Black, which again, good move. But I will say, with that list of who they were trying to get to play Spawn, clearly they were just like, we gotta get a famous black actor. Because some of them didn't make any sense. Like, Snoop Dogg? Another casting choice they almost made. They wanted Edward Norton originally to play Terry, Spawn's friend, but he turned this part down to go be in Rounders. Which again, good move. I love that movie. But even the directing choice. They originally wanted Tim Burton to direct this movie. And honestly, it makes me wonder what would have happened if that would have been the case. Might have been a lot better. Not to say that everything that Tim Burton has ever directed is gold, but he puts more thought into the story, which is what this movie was really lacking. Mark Azy-Depay, he's a special effects guy. That's all he did before directing this, and you could tell because that seemed to be the big focus of this movie, which is what was very disappointing to my brother and I when we saw it in theaters. We were all excited about it, and it was like, yeah, it has great special effects, especially for '97, but the story was very lacking. A lot of it was rushed, many things were just thrown in together, and then the stuff that wasn't rushed and thrown in together was just very generic. Like I said, this movie wasn't appreciated when it first came out. As time has gone on, it has built a cult following, and there are people who like it, and I will say it has grown on me some, but I would still never say that I loved this movie. At this point, I went to not liking it to it's worth watching. But honestly, I'm excited that there's a reboot coming and that Todd McFarlane is directing it. So hopefully, it'll be a lot better than this one. But I would still say for a 90s superhero movie, it's worth watching, so I do recommend you check out Spawn. So there you have it, that's my movie review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notifications when I post the videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of Spawn. Tell me if you're anticipating the reboot like I am. Love you guys.